We all have orphan blocks and scraps in our stash, and they can easily overwhelm our space if we do not have ways to consume them. Here are 6 fast and easy projects that you can use up your scraps and that you can personalize as gifts for all those summer gatherings. And there'll be some free downloads too. So stick with me and I'll show you how to do it. Hi, I'm Karen Brown of Just Get It Done Quilts. I give you tips, tricks, and strategies to help you make the quilt that you want to make. And if you like what you see, please support the channel by hitting that subscribe button. It's summertime, and with pandemic restrictions lifting, we are out and about visiting family and friends that we haven't seen in a while, which means you might need gifts, holidays, birthdays, and hospitality ones. I already have several videos on fast and easy gifts. This one is about the heavier stuffed ones. They are tactile and soft with a lot of ASMR appeal. There are so many ways that you and your family can have fun with beanbags. While on vacation, I even discovered that cornhole was a competitive sport, but a simple beanbag toss all on its own is also a lot of fun. Or you can play balancing games, knocking over cans, and hide and seek. This is also a good place to use up some of those scraps and those heavier fabrics like denim, duck cloth, and canvas. An official cornhole bag is made from 2 6.5-inch squares of durable fabric. But if you're not playing to compete, you can make them any size you want. Starting in from one of the corners, sew a 1/4-inch seam around all sides, leaving a small opening. Then make another seam just beside it at 1/16 of an inch. And with the heavier fabric, I use a 100 denim needle and a thicker thread. Cut the corners on a diagonal down to the outer seam. Then turn it inside out. Press the seams to give it a sharp edge. For bags that are going to be tossed, you're going to want it to be able to take a beating. So to fill them, use dried corn that you can find at the feed store, or sturdy beans like dried navy beans or red kidney. Using a piece of template plastic or stiff cardboard, make a tube in the opening and fill your bag with 2 cups of filling. Use a clip to keep the bag closed while you fill your other bags. Ask me how I know that. Then use 2 rows of top stitching to close the bag. Beanbags are also great for slower games like tic-tac-toe, checkers, chess, and others. The construction is similar to the previous example, but since they're smaller and are going to take less of a beating, you can use your quilting cotton scraps. You'll need 2 squares of fabric for the back, scrap pieces to use for the applique symbols on top, and fusible webbing. I found this linen in my scrap drawer, and I'm cutting 4-inch squares. Trace your pattern onto your fusible webbing. Then roughly cut out your shapes. Place your scrap fabric with the right side down and iron out any wrinkles. Then place the fusible webbing on top with the glue side down. Using a hot iron and some parchment paper, fuse. Cut out your design. Then remove the paper from the fusible. Center the shape on your beanbag square and again with a hot iron, fuse in place. Stitch around the edge of the fabric to secure in place. And sew them right sides together with a 1/4-inch seam, leaving an opening to fill. Clip the corners and flip inside out and press the top seam. For fill, because the bag is smaller, you'll want to use a smaller fill like dried peas, lentils, or rice. Fill your bag with a generous 1/3 cup of fill. You can close the bag with a top stitch, but I like to do it by hand. For For I Spy or matchup games, you can go to your 5-inch scraps, look for animals, food, or characters. Good candidates are ones that you can use 3 different words to describe, like large green dragonflies. Then look at your solid scraps for pieces that are large enough to use on the back of the bags. I Spy games only need 1, but matching games you're going to need pairs. Make your bean bags exactly the same way as you did for the board games. Since these are a bit larger, it needs a little bit more fill, like 3/4 of a cup. Heating pads are just bean bags that you heat up in the microwave for 1 to 2 minutes to make them toasty. And they are perfect for using up orphan blocks. This one is a good multi-purpose bag that you can use on your back, on your hands, even just to warm yourself up with. And its finish measurements are 6 by 8. But you can make them any shape. Here's another one that I use on my neck, and it measures 3.5 inches by 20. There are 2 major differences here in construction. First, by the nature of how they are used, they may become stained and need to be washed. So you'll want to make them in 2 parts, the bag and a cover. The bag I showed you how to make in the previous example, and the cover is just made with the envelope method that I showed you in my video, Fast and Easy Pillows. That is, you need to make a rectangle of fabric 1/2 inch taller and twice as wide, plus 3.5 to 5 inches wider. So I started with my orphan block and I added strips to the top and bottom till I got to 8.5 inches. And I added 2 red pieces to the sides so that my rectangle is now 16 inches wide. Then I turned the edges under 1/4 inch, and then I did it again at 1 inch. Top stitch along the edges. Overlap the 2 sides and sew a seam at the top and at the bottom. Turn the bag inside out and add 2 snaps to keep it closed. And I make my bag 1/4 inch smaller than the cover. And the second thing is, for the filling, you need to be a little bit more mindful of what you use because it's going to be heated repeatedly. We also want it to conform to the contours of our body. And with the comfort we want it to bring, we want it to smell nice. Rice is my first choice here, as it also releases moisture when heated. And it's easy because I always have it in the pantry. Basmati and jasmine rice will also provide a nice fragrance. You might also consider adding some dried lavender or some essential oils. Beans, buckwheat seeds, wheat hearts, flax seeds, and lentils are also good options, but sometimes the smells can be a little off-putting after continued use. Draft stoppers are just one long skinny beanbag, and they are a great way to use up your scrap strips. Not only do they stop drafts from under doors and windows, for those that live in noisy condos and dorms, they also stop sounds from your neighbors. Measure the width of your door or your window ledge and make your bag 1/2 inch larger. This door is 30 inches wide, so I cut my bag at 4.5 inches by 30.5 inches. And it finished at 2 by 30. It can be your choice to make it in 1 piece or in 2. I made mine in 2 because the floor can get really dusty, and you want to be sure to use a heavy fill to keep it in place. And if you made the envelope shape, you want to put the opening very close to one of the ends, so it's easy to insert and remove the inside bag. I learned that one through trial and error. And if you attach a ribbon on the end, you can hang it on your door handle when not in use. You can make these tetrahedrons in all sorts of sizes to use up your scraps in your orphan blocks. Smaller weights can hold down a picnic blanket, tablecloth, or pattern pieces. Larger ones can be doorstops and counterweights, or use them as markers for game boundaries or throw lines. This time, we need a rectangle shape, and you'll want to make your rectangle twice as wide as the height. And you can make one by sewing 2 orphan blocks together. or by sewing scrap strips together.
Fold your rectangle in half.
Sew a 1/4 inch seam along the short side. Now I find a small loop is a good idea to have on one side of your weight. And if you want one too, this is where you insert it. You can use webbing, ribbon, or make your own by folding fabric and top stitching. Insert the strap inside the rectangle so that the ends are just visible, and sew your 1/4 inch seam.
Sew a seam along the bottom of the bag, leaving an opening for the fill to go in.
On the top opening, match up your seams in the middle. Then sew along the edge. Turn the fabric inside out. Now the amount of fill that you will need will be based on what size of bag you have. This 5-inch bag needed just over a cup, but this 7-inch bag needed just over 7 cups. Now you might be thinking that this is one huge bag, but another way you can use this shape is as an iPad stand. When I need my iPad in another room or while I'm reading in bed, it's a really nice shape that conforms to the situation. So which one are you going to make? You can get the free download of the symbols from my website for tic-tac-toe, checkers, and chess.
And you'll find it under patterns and downloads and extra stuff.
This is my 5th video in my Fast and Easy gift series. If you want to check the others out, I'm going to leave a link to the playlist here. Or check out my free Stash Buster patterns. Take care, and I'll see you next time.